Hi, I'm Alan Green. Next on Backpacker Dad, we just got back from the AT on our section hike, and it was a great time, and we will tell you all about it next. Stick around. Hi, welcome to Backpacker Dad, and today we just got back from our section hike, the AT, and we drove for 2 days, and it was a long drive, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were a bit worn, but we wanted to share, because he's going to be leaving, going back to Dallas, so we wanted to share a little bit about what we experienced and kind of some of the gear we give thumbs up to, and some of the stuff we would do over. Okay, when we left, we had a graduation party, and we left about 6 p.m., drove through till about 3 a.m., slept for about 3 hours in the car, and then drove and got to Harper's Ferry at 12:30 a.m. So the next morning, our ride, which was Trail Boss, and the cool thing about the whole AT is the shuttle systems and the whole economic system working around and culture around the AT. So we got a ride, and it was we're kind of worried because they had a ton of rain and the footbridge was closed. Kind of had our plan to maybe go south, but we wanted to stick with our original plan because the first day we went to Gettysburg, the battlefield. And personally, to me, that was a real, kind of one of the highlights of this trip. Unfortunately, it was kind of drizzly, rainy, but it didn't really, do you think, it didn't ruin the day, did it?
No.
And I got a lot out of it. And we first got there, we had a ride that was going to pick us up, and but he had a run that morning. He's a trail runner, and then he met up with us after we had walked around ourselves, and then he drove us around the rest of the battlefield and kind of was like our tour guide. I thought it was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. They kind of preserved it as it was after the battle, basically. It was well preserved. What did you enjoy most about the Gettysburg?
Yeah, it was just, it's very open. I mean, you can just kind of walk around the battlefield yourself. I will say, if you are planning on taking your backpack, have a plan, because they don't allow backpacks actually inside in the visitor center. So we had to get we had to get our backpacks, we had to take all our stuff out and get searched, because we just didn't have a car there to put our backpacks in. Yeah. So I'd definitely say have a plan for that if you're planning on implementing it into a backpacking trip.
Or don't go to the visitor center.
That's also true.
You can just walk out to the battlefield and don't have to go through the visitor center, because the battlefield is right there off the road. And so definitely, if you get a chance to go to Gettysburg, do it, I would say.
Yeah.
It's a very neat thing. And we also went to and had lunch. He took us to
O'Rourke's Irish Pub in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
O'Rourke's Irish Pub, definitely a must. The crab sandwich.
Crab melt.
Crab melt. Amazing sandwich with the sourdough and crab meat, and it was really good. And then what he did is he dropped us off in the park, and we started about the first quarter mile was, in the park. Basically, it's a walk in the park, actually. And it was literally a walk in the park. But you have a busy road you cross, and then we were going southbound. So we had literally about a 500-foot ascend over about a half mile to start the thing. So that was pretty fun. And I will say the rocks in Pennsylvania and northern Maryland, and really a lot of Maryland rocks, they were murder. They were really rough, I thought. I mean, did you have problems with rocks? I mean, because you twist your ankle, there's no real footing. So it's not like walking on a flat trail? I mean, what did you?
I think the rocks, I mean, really on the uphills were really a setback, but on the flat trail, I didn't mind them as much. You know.
Yeah, and there also, when you're doing a downhill, it's not really. It's you normally think, oh, downhill. It's not what you think, because you really have to watch your footing, because with your backpack weight, it's the forward momentum will push you and you can twist your ankle in a heartbeat. The first day I fell 3 times. Of course, it had rained, and that rock, when it rains, that granite is super slick. So that first day it had already rained. It stopped raining. The first night we stayed at the Rocky Mountain Shelter, and it was pretty cool. When we got there, I was surprised because it was full. Shelter was full, and there was campsites kind of down. It was kind of an ascending down a hill. It was built on a hill, but down lower were some campsites. And we got there, what, about 5?
About 5
o'clock, and we set up our tent and met Sfen, who was a through hiker. He was a flip-flopper, and he was just getting kind of started on his hike. And I will try to post, because he's doing a vlog, a video vlog, and he was a great guy, and I really cheering for him, because he has a back issue that's degenerative, and he has to like roll out his back every night and day before he gets on the trail, and it's a pretty painful experience. And a lot of the through hikers, personally, I like to ask, why are you doing this? Because it's it's interesting to hear why people walk 2,000 miles, and his was that he probably may never get that chance because his degenerative spine would not let him later. So I noticed several people. I talked to another guy, I don't remember his trail name, but he had rheumatoid arthritis, and he just said, if I don't do it now, I will never do it. We stayed there that night. The next day we put in about 10 miles, right? We walked about 10 miles.
Yeah, second day, yeah.
Yeah, the second day, and we stayed at the Deer Lick shelter. And when we first got there was nobody there.
Yeah.
It was empty. So we pitched on they have
Tent pads,
which were cool. And we pitched on that. My tent kind of doesn't quite fit well on those pads. I have to kind of move them around because the footprint does, but it's just the pulling it out. Yours fit real well, didn't it?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
I sometimes had problems with the stakes on the front or the stakes on the back kind of
Being off.
being a little over the wooden lip, But I mean, it wasn't I could make it work.
Yeah. So we stayed there that night, and we met like Fox, and what was the other girl's name?
Remy.
Remy? Mm-hmm. That's the girl that was with him.
Yeah.
So Fox and Remy, and then about just about almost dark, not quite dark, an older gentleman come shuffling in. He was barely moving too, and he come moving in, and it was probably 7:30, 8 o'clock. It got dark about 8:30. He come kind of shuffling, and his trail name was Farmall. And Farmall, his main deal is he was a retired guy, but he was a tractor collector, and he grew up in Connecticut in the tobacco industry, and he collected all these, and he talked tractors, and and most of the time in shelters and stuff, really by the time when you get into shelter, you set up your tent, you cook, or you set up your tent, get your stuff ready, then you cook, and then after that you kind of go to bed. So really the only social time we had was when we were cooking, when you're eating. We ate, they have a picnic table there, so it's kind of a gathering place to cook and eat. And then you do your other little things, and of course you got to go get water. And then the second day we took off. The first day I will say we kind of got out late. We didn't leave till the first day when we stayed in Rocky Mountain, it was like 10 o'clock.
Yeah, it was late start.
It was late, so we really pushed to get to the other place. And then the second day, we got up a little earlier. We got out about an hour earlier, about 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So we got out a little earlier. And in the way, you know, the way we hiked, we hiked our own hikes. So basically, we kind of just agreed where we were kind of meet for lunch, and then where we were going to stay. So that way, I wouldn't hold him up, and I hope I didn't hold you up too much on your
I don't think so, no.
Pretty much hike your own hike.
Yeah.
And he was usually there 20 to 30, sometimes 30 to 40 minutes, because I would stop. I stop and talk to people. And the thing is about the trail is we were going against the grain. We were going southbound and they were northbound. And at that time where we were, I found out later, it got busier as we got into Maryland, of course, and it was also Memorial Day weekend. But we were going against the grain, and all the through hikers were coming up. So anytime anyone would engage, I would stop and talk 2 or 3 minutes. And they were really, I would not, I'd say hi, but if they, like one guy, the people would make comments, so I'd stop, and then we would get in these conversations, and you'd find out some amazing things about these people. And I met a guy who was 67 years old, and he was doing his second through hike. His name was Mountain Man Pete. That was his trail name. And he was wearing a kilt. And we found that kilts were pretty popular, weren't they?
Yeah.
Kilts seem to be pretty popular for men on the, I've seen about 5 of them. But we met some cool people. We were in Maryland.
Yeah.
So that day we passed 2 major things, and I don't know if the 2 cool things for me were the Mason-Dixon line sign, and then we had a cool lunch.
Penmar, yeah.
Yeah, Penmar. And it was a cool time. It was a good lunch. We took a little longer, but we got some views, and then we kind of met our what became our kind of trail family. There was 2 girls that we passed, and they ended up, we found out later, getting lost. But trail families, the thing about the culture on the trail is that you kind of travel at the same and sleep at the same places in the same direction. And then at that time in Pennsylvania, we were the only ones traveling south. When we got to Maryland, it's more of a popular thing to go to Penmar Park and hike south. But it was a great hike, and I got a lot out, and I was more into the social part of it, but met a lot of cool people and got to know people. And I actually met a 77-year-old guy Mr. Boner. His trail name was Loner Boner, and he was on his 4th through hike. So he has literally walked 8,000 miles, and he's 77 years old. He started January 31st, so he's slow, but he's steady at it. So it was amazing to see a guy like that. But overall, it was a great hike. Really the longest, seemed like the longest part of it was the road walk. You walk kind of a gravel road when you start to drop down to get into Harper's Ferry.
Yes, the C&O Gap Canal Road.
That seemed like a long road to walk, and it was only about 4 miles, 4.5 miles or something maybe. But it took forever. And then getting into town, it was the Memorial Day weekend, so it was busy, and we were just like, it was crazy. So that was probably one of the more difficult, just getting to the ATC, the Conservancy, the Appalachian Trail Conservancy is where we met at the end, and bought some stuff and looked around and kind of checked it out. But what was your highlights on the?
Probably Gettysburg, and the Washington Monument was cool.
Yeah, we did stop at, that was day 5 or day 6? That was the last day?
That was day, well, that was
the day before the last day.
Yeah.
Yeah, day 5, I think it was. We stopped there, and that was real cool. It was the, you could actually see Pennsylvania, Maryland, and West Virginia from the top up there. And the sign said that during the Civil War, the Union used it as a signal
Station.
signal tower. So that was cool. And but let's talk about gear. Well, other things. Thing I would not do. The thing one of the biggest things I think I over planned for was food. We still have food left that we didn't even eat. So,
I think we each had 2 extra days worth of food.
Yeah, I had 6 days of meals planned, but we really didn't eat as much as we thought we were. And it was, if I had it to do over, I would definitely cut back on the meals and the snacks. Of course, I was having a little bit of stomach issues, but I didn't eat as many snacks as I thought I was going to eat. And you didn't really either, did you?
No,
I planned all those snacks for every day.
Yeah.
Those bags, and we didn't eat that much snacks per day.
No, probably not.
Yeah. Now the gear, some real thumbs up pluses. The one thing that I really was this bag was a great thing. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
This was easy to get, and the water was flowing out there. It was really flowing pretty well. So it was not a problem getting water, but you had to scoop it. A lot of time or hold it underneath this made it great magic, man. This whole thing here was really, you could open this up and the water was coming out of the little mountain there, and you just kind of pop it open and fill it up quick. It was great. The other thing I found out, which I kind of screwed up, I made a real rookie mistake, is I flushed my Sawyer out with, which you're not supposed to do, with the sink water back in February, whenever I went on the Lone Star hiking trail. I had a bunch of gunk in the pond, and I wanted to really super clean it out. Bad move, because the first night we get down to walk to the water, you walked down most of the time. From most of the places you had to walk down into a ravine because it was a spring basically, and my filter didn't work, so we had to use his mini the whole time, but luckily it worked. And that you thought really worked.
I liked my tent. The tent was set up pretty easy. Never had really any issues with it. Set up quick. The shoes and socks.
Shoes were like number one. That was probably the best investment that we made, is shoes.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you go walking on that trail, wear good shoes. Ran into a guy, and he was telling me on the trail, I'm the talker. So the guy with rheumatoid arthritis, he said he was having to go hitch a ride to town because his shoes he was wearing were just not right for him. He was having issues with them, and so we did good on shoes and socks, good. And I really had a hot spot on my foot, and then I did get a blister on the ball of my right foot. I thought it was a hot spot. It really turned into a blister because 2 days later, after we got off the trail, it's still sore, and looking at it, it's kind of a blister. It's just really underneath the skin. So, but you didn't have any problem with your foot.
I didn't have any problems with any blisters or anything,
Yeah.
and I typically don't really struggle with that too much. It's not really a huge problem for me.
And the other big plus, cool thing was body glide. Chafing. I have a problem with chafing, and he does too. And and so if you just apply that body glide, that really worked well.
Yep.
I was really impressed with body glide. But my tent was great. I enjoyed the tent. The cooking system, I'd have to say, our cooking system is right on. Because just seeing some of the stuff other people cook with, it was big and a lot and heavy. Ours was lightweight, and it cooked quickly. Heated water, basically. That's all we were doing.
Yeah.
But it was easy to cook, and quick and easy. The little, I liked personally the little hot lips. They're little silicone things that get on your cup, so you can drink coffee out of your You know, you can boil your water, pour your coffee in, stir it up, all that, put that little thing on, and you can not burn your lips with the metal. That I enjoy, but you had it in a mug.
Yeah, I actually brought a mug because I don't like putting things that aren't water actually in my little cook kettle, because I just this is another thing you have to clean out.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I guess technically the mug is something you have to clean out too, but I don't know. I just I just brought the mug for that.
Cool.
I was kind of already in my pack, so I was just took it along.
And now, dumps or the thumbs down stuff, the packs, I was not very impressed with.
No.
I mean, they were comfortable, but mine started ripping up on the relief straps, the
Yeah.
load releases. I was starting to come apart from the thing.
My actual strap started to come apart.
Yeah. So, but they were for this particular hike. So
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I didn't really spend the money on any cool stuff like that, because your sister's wedding and so anyway.
Yeah.
But I would suggest investing in a good pack.
Yeah. I noticed a big problem I had on mine was the load would shift a lot. And so I would find one part of my back or my shoulders would be carrying more of the load than the others. So at the end of the day, one day would be my left shoulder was really, really feeling sore, and the other day would be my right shoulder. And then I think actually something happened with my nerves in my left arm. I'm feeling kind of there was some sort of weird nerve tweakage. Probably a pinched nerve. I'm feeling kind of some weird nerve stuff in my fingers in my left hand. So
I think it's from the pack.
I think it's the way the pack would just kind of shift around a lot on your the load would shift on your back, which I don't know. I think especially over a long period of time could really cause a lot of issues.
And hiking pole was great. And actually, I took too many clothes because I thought it was going to get cooler. I mean, honestly, I used my puffy jacket one time.
I never used mine at all.
One morning, it was like 55 degrees one morning.
I mean, I just put my rain jacket on and it was fine. So I honestly didn't need my down jacket at all.
And I didn't use my long stuff any at all. Slept in the running shorts and the short t-shirt. And so really I wouldn't bring along this time of year. I mean, you would probably need it if it were colder, but we didn't need it.
No.
Not at all. And the hiking poles worked great. My hiking poles did. He's got the cheaper ones, but
I didn't really have any problems.
To do, right? Yeah. And all in all, man, it was just a great trip. Sleeping system worked well. Oh, and I converted him. I converted him to from a foam sill pad to a blow-up pad, because when we were leaving and packing, it was kind of awkward. It was really packed outside, and so you can use this smaller one, and it's smaller, and you don't. And then, what did you think of the blow-up pad?
I really liked it a lot. I'm a side sleeper, so one problem with the foam pad is that it's it's just really hard on your joints and on your shoulders. It does offer a little bit of padding, but your shoulder is still on the ground, and so I'd wake up several times a night, probably certain trips I was waking up every hour to turn over, and in the morning you'd just be super sore. But with the inflatable pad, my laying on my side, my shoulder wasn't touching the ground at all. I made sure just blow it up good to where the air pressure was sufficient to where my body weight wouldn't push all the way to the ground, and so it was a lot more comfortable, and it had a lot smaller profile, because in the morning you just deflate it, roll it up, and it
So
it was.
You like the pad?
Yeah, big pump on the pad. It was
good.
It was good.
Yeah, I kept telling him, "Oh, you ought to take a pat." No, I'm fine. I'm fine. So I'm glad it worked out because it really does make your sleep a little bit better. And I only used the quilt like twice.
I used mine once.
Yeah, because it was warm. The last night it was literally just hot and muggy.
Yeah, it was real. A couple of the nights it was real sticky. It was very humid throughout the trip, though. So
It's a lot more humid than what we're used to.
Yeah.
Out here, out west, further west, we don't have that kind of humidity. It seemed like, and but it was an amazing trip that I would do again. Would you do it again?
Oh yeah, I'd like to do probably another section. You know.
Yeah. Maybe we'll go back and do one further south,
Yeah.
further north. I don't know. I'd like to do maybe the Smoky Mountains, or who knows. We'll talk about it, and I won't have these edited right away because he leaves back to Dallas, and then I gotta have things I'm doing here to get ready for. There's a wedding going to be happening in a few weeks, literally, and I'll have a lot of family here. So, and then plus I need to write some music for this because a lot of the music that I do on there is music I write. So I'm going to have to put some music to this, and so it may be July, guys, before you see our hike. And I will be doing some videos, but it just won't be that particular one. And mainly going over some of the gear and stuff, and some of the stuff we were talking about in more detail and some more reviews. But I think it was an amazing trip and an amazing trail, and I will say that the people you meet are very cool, and the whole culture of the trail is a pretty interesting thing. It's not something that you find anywhere else, really. Mm-hmm. And I will say that the Appalachian Trail it's a true American treasure, and I think we should give to the Conservancy to help preserve that, because it is a very cool deal. And what did you get out of it? Any last kind of thoughts of the trip?
No, it's a good trip. It was a lot of fun. Had a good time.
Yeah, and I got to spend it with one of my favorite people in the whole world, and got to hang out with my son and do something, and a lot of scouting troops. We saw a ton of scout troops, so I got to brag a lot, and which is a dad thing. And we had a really good time, and I'm glad we did it. And I'm gonna let him go to bed because we drove 2 days.
Yeah.
And we are exhausted, and my body is kind of beat. But as you do it more and more, I think you get to where I can see you doing those bigger miles. Because we did 10 miles, and then we did like a 12 mile, a 13 mile, and our last day was probably ended up being about a 14 mile day by the time we walked and in town and had to walk to the hotel where we were parked. So we ended up walking 14 miles the last day. Not on the trail, but 12 miles on the trail, and then and in town. So stick around, and you leave me some comments, and I hope to have these videos out to you soon. In the meantime, I'll start to do some videos on some of the gear and what I thought, and more in-depth reviews. And until we see you next time, subscribe. Until then, see you again on Backpacker Dad.